Jack, you've now had time to reflect on Friday night. Why do you think it went so wrong against Rangers?
I think the start to the game isn't ideal. I think when you can see 2 goals as early in any match, it makes it difficult. Never mind against a really good team, a team that are having a terrific season. So that certainly contributed to how the game then panned out after that. However, I said this post-match, we didn't play well. We didn't do a lot of the basic parts of the game well that we have done recently. So it was a poor night for us overall, but it's one game in isolation in terms of the last probably 6 or 7.
Ryan Poaches, of course, was sent off. Have you spoken to him about that, and how do you manage him off the pitch to not make challenges like that? Yeah, look, I mean, I think again, I said post-match, I was fairly frank in terms of what I thought about the decision. It was fine. I was okay with the decision that was made by the official. I think we have to be careful that we don't portray Ryan to be something that he's not, because he's a young player, a big potential, who's had a good career to date and has forced himself into the national team squad. And he has to be aggressive to play in the position that he plays in. For him to get to the top level of the game, in any centre half at the top level, they might be good players, but they're also aggressive. You need to be in that area of the park. Now, how you channel that aggression is a learning experience as well, and so that's the key point for him. Not just young players make mistakes, all players make mistakes, and all people make mistakes at different times. It's how they learn from it and how they react to it, and that'll be the key things for Ryan. A big talking point from Friday night was the unfortunate incident of the bottle being thrown on the pitch. Is there any update from the club on this, and what message do you have to the fans? No, I think in terms of update would come from people at the club above me. Again, I think I was quite clear after the game. I didn't avoid the question that it's never behaviour that can be condoned. Now, whether it's behaviour that's been there in the past or whether it's an isolation and a one-off, that's irrelevant. It's a decision to throw objects at another human being is ridiculous, and there's no place for it in football, full stop. Now, we can't again portray it as being a one club problem. It's repeated incidents of antisocial behaviour occurs across the game at different times, but I think if we're united and consistent in our condemnation of it, then we may eventually get there in terms of eradicating it.
Will it take stands to be closed, Jack, to try and eradicate this?
I don't know, Brian, to be honest, and again, it's not me avoiding the question. The truth is, it doesn't really matter that much about what I think is the solution to it, because it's not me that would be able to enforce that. The only thing I can say in effect is saying how much I disagree with the actions of those people that do it. Again, irrespective of the team that they follow and who the opposition is and the circumstances, it's just ridiculous behaviour that. And I suppose the maybe other caveat to it as well is that I do think in football that sometimes we do pander to the lowest common denominator, and that sometimes has an impact upon the huge amount of people that go and watch football the right way. So there was a lot of people in that stadium on Friday evening, and a lot of people that behave properly. So we have to be careful that we don't focus all our energy and attention on those that don't do things the right way. We have to eradicate it, of course we do, but there's also a lot of decent people that watch football matches as well.
Easter Road's not the only club where items have been thrown from the stands, but one of these days you have to think somebody's going to get quite badly injured, and then everybody there'll be an outcry then. So is there something that, whether it be the football authorities or the police, that can say, well, we're not going to let it get to that stage and do something about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a lot of things. It's the easy part is identifying the problem, and the problem is the one you've just outlined. That it's not just a one-off incident. It's happened on several occasions at other stadiums as well. The tough part is finding the solution. So I'm critical of people who always highlight the problem and never offer a solution. So I can't offer the solutions. I don't know the answer to it, so I'll not highlight the problem, if that makes sense. But it would be ideal if we could find the solution that would prevent that type of incident happening. As I said, that I'm sure there are people that are better qualified than me to try and find that.
I know you were trying to concentrate on what was happening on the pitch, and I was asking David Gray as well, as a player, when he sees something like that happen, what goes through his mind? What goes through your mind when you see items being thrown, as I say, regardless of where it is, what ground it's at? Yeah. Is it, here we go again?
To be honest, Brian, I didn't know about that until after the game, so I can't tell you what emotions I felt at the time, because it was obviously on the far side of the pitch from me, and there's a lot going on in the game at the time, and we're in a difficult position in the match, and as a football manager, you try to lead your team to the end of the game in the best possible way, and so at that time I really couldn't answer that because I didn't feel anything, because I didn't know what had happened.
When it does happen though, can it have an adverse effect on the players? For example, that obviously came from an area where Hibs fans were. Can it have an adverse effect on your players?
I think in general, I think players are probably, especially those that play, I've played a significant number of games, there's so much, playing football match is difficult. When you're in the midst of the pitch, it's tough, and so you have your concentration and focus levels. Players become very adept at blocking a lot of things out, and that's not to say they don't think that's inappropriate behaviour. I just think they're well accustomed, because bearing in mind a football match, if you're ever in the middle of the pitch and you hear the amount of abuse that players get from the stands, so that's they have the ability to let that wash over them, if you like, or keep that focus. So it's very much the same for instances like that as well.
And you're going to Tynecastle on Thursday. It's a stadium where there has been history as well. Neil Lennon was hit by a coin. There's been other items being thrown from the stands as well. There's no fear factor though in going there. You can't say, I wonder what's going to happen today.
No, I think mainly for the reasons I touched on earlier, that whatever the attendance is at Tynecastle, the vast majority of people there are there to watch a game, and they enjoy the occasion, and they're to revel in the atmosphere that these games provide, and there'll obviously be people there wanting team to win, and vice versa. So no, I mean, whether that's me being glass half full, but I've loved football a long time, and that's always my thoughts as I go towards the game. I never have one thought about the potential idiots that may behave in an appropriate manner. It's much more about the positive side of the game, and going there, for a lot of people that'll be there to genuinely watch the match and enjoy it, and for two teams that'll go there to try and win the game.
You used to work for PFA Scotland. Do you feel that the Players' Union could perhaps do something to protect the players more?
I don't know, Lorraine, to be honest. It's what you do. Again, I don't know what type of action you could take that would ensure that they're better protected. As I said, it is very difficult when I know there has been repeated instances of it, but I don't know what, and maybe somebody would do this, but if you look at the proportion of incidents per game on a season or a 5-year basis or whatever, I would guess it's still a fairly low percentage. So it's the balance between not ignoring incidents that could potentially have severe consequences for people, and yet not taking action that will damage the game in general and take away the good parts that are in it as well.
Do you think it's important for the club's reputation though to make sure this is stamped out and you can focus on the good elements in the sport?
Yeah, I mean that goes without saying. I think, Sheila, that this is a good football club, and as I mentioned earlier, the number of supporters in the stadium, they would have behaved in the correct manner and have done so week in, week out, supporting the club. And I get why there is so much focus on it. I get why everyone asks so many questions about it today, because I'm sure you guys doing your job as well, and it's dead easy for me to sit here and say, oh look, don't ask me about it, because it's fairly isolated in terms of the grand scheme of things. But I don't think any club wants that to become a reputation. So, and it shouldn't be that if it's more than a one-off that you should get that. If it's a one-off, that's enough. It's enough to make it a serious incident that should be dealt with.
In terms of the football aspect, what have you learned about your team over the past couple of games that you maybe hadn't seen before?
Well, we've had 2 tough games, and I don't want us to ever feel as if we should accept losing games because they're against good sides. However, we have played against 2 good teams who have actually on both occasions played well. Friday night was the most disappointing one because we didn't do the fundamentals, the basic part of the game well, which has been competitive, and that's when you can, I think, be slightly more critical of your group. However, I temper that with how they've been for me in general since I came into the job, and also if we take the last 2 games out of the equation, our recent form and results have been very good. So we spoke about it this morning, we're not just ignoring elements of Friday, but equally there has to be a large focus on what we had done prior to these games as well.
What are you expecting from Hearts under Daniel Stendhal, and what have you learned about his teams before that you can maybe use?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I came up against Daniel as a manager, but both in charge of different clubs at the time with different personnel available to us, and different circumstances of where both teams were in the league at that point as well. I think it's difficult to say for certain, because even in the games today, he's used quite a lot of changing personnel and changing system as well. So, look, I think what I know we'll get is a team that will be committed and desperate to win the game in terms of the opposition, because they're in a position in the league where they need that. I think reading some of his comments already, he's highlighted the fact that it's a derby match and everything that goes with it. So I don't expect anything less. I don't think it makes any difference to where they are in the table at the moment, their recent form. I think the game will be as challenged as it would be normally.
This isn't your first Edinburgh derby, but it is your first Edinburgh derby as Hibs head coach. Can you use any experience that you gained at Hearts?
I think that I'm familiar with the atmosphere and everything around the game. I've been involved firsthand at the matches, so I know how good they are in that respect and how much is at stake within them. And then, the experiences of the last year and a half in particular have meant that I've been involved in some big games. I've been at Wembley twice in front of huge crowds, and all those experiences, I think, make you better equipped to deal with matches like Boxing Day. Still very different being in charge at Hibs in the match, but very much looking forward to it. And as I said, I don't think there'll be anything that will surprise me in terms of the match and the atmosphere around it, because you said I've experienced it before.